Hello and welcome back to Creative Frenzy. Okay, so placemats. I made a planner cover out of a placemat before. It's one of my most popular videos. I will link it in the video, or at the end of this video rather, and you can take a look at that one. But this is sort of an updated version. I've had a few questions on that video as to where I get my placemats from. The ones that I bought for that video were the foam and the plastic or vinyl on the outside. I just got them at the dollar store. But a lot of people seem to be having issues finding those ones. So I thought we'd today make one out of the fabric placemats. So again, these are just from the dollar store, a Dollar Tree, I believe. They had a few little cute patterns. I went through a lemon phase this summer. And you know, so there's a few here. What I like about these, they already have a lining, so which is nice for this project. Okay, we're gonna do a slow stitch because if you don't have a sewing machine, you can still make this, no problem. You don't need glue, you don't need any of those things. Okay, so I'm going to show you probably two different ways of using this cover, and then you can make a junk journal cover out of it, or a daily planner journal cover, or even for whatever reason you might have. I had another idea for showing it how you could use it for like a sketchbook for travel. Okay, so here we go. We have our placemat, and you know, it is, what is the size of a regular placemat? I don't even know. Let's get the ruler out. It is 18 inches long and almost 12 inches wide. Okay, so that is a rough estimate. Your placemat might be a different size, who knows. So this one's quite pretty. I really like the colors. I like the teal and that yellow and the green, so I thought it would be really pretty for a cover. So what you're going to do first though is you're going to make your little journals. Now, because this placemat is a decent size, it's 18 by 12, okay, I just did copy paper and scrapbook paper on notebooks. Okay, now if you already have notebooks, you can adjust it according to that. You could do this with loose paper. You can do it any which way you want to. You can customize this to whatever size you need it to be. All right, so I just did 8.5 by 11 copy paper. I did not trim anything. Okay, let's see. Just regular old copy paper, although it is dyed with coffee, so there is that. So 8.5 by 11, more or less. It looks like I did trim these ones though, but it's more or less that way. Okay, so if you have to trim it a little bit, you absolutely could. You know, take an X-Acto knife or scissors, or just tear the edges. That works too. But what I like about it, if it's a little bit bigger than this or a little bit smaller, you can adjust the cover for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit these aside. Well, we're going to use one of them for now. I just used some scrapbook paper from the Michael's Hot Buy, the spring, what is it called again? Happy Spring? Yeah, that's the one. So it's this one, the Happy Spring one here. Okay, so that's what I used. I thought it was really pretty. And I wanted something a little bit brighter for this, and it's not overly you know, it doesn't have bunnies or anything like that on it. So all we're going to do is we are going to roughly let's see, we want a little bit at the top, so if we have like paper clips or other things sticking out, it's not going to stick out too far. Okay, and then all we're going to do is we are going to fold up the bottom so that it's loosely about the same. You want a little bit of leeway here too. Okay, and then you're going to take your little, this is just a magnet onto an old watch band. My watch broke, so I just put a magnet on, and then you could just keep your pins there. Comes in handy and it works nicely. So all we're going to do, I'll move this over, is we are going to pin this right here. Okay, if I had a sharp pin, that would be even better. There we go. All right, just to sort of keep it in place so we're not going to lose it. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now what I like about this, which I thought was a nice added feature, is if you don't go all the way down with the stitching on this side, on the right hand side, you can slide a pen in there. So that is kind of key. So when we have our cover this way, so we're going to have it fold over, okay? Like this, that's how it's going to end up looking. But if we don't have, you know, this is going to be quite flimsy, don't forget, right? So because we're not reinforcing it with anything, but the notebooks itself will give it structure. But this way you have somewhere to put a pen if you were to not stitch all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so you have room for a pen, and then you have the 2 pockets on the inside and you're good to go. Now, what I like about this, if you do not have a grommet maker or an eyelet setter or anything like that, you can keep this as a pocket for a notebook, and then you could put your ephemera in here, or pencil crayons or whatever, stickers, you know, and then you could use it that way. But we are going to turn it into a notebook. So there's a couple of different options. All right, so that's basically what we're going to do here. You could stitch along here too, which, you know, it might end up happening because it does end up keeping it a little bit sturdier. All right, and then the other one's here. I could just do this on the sewing machine, but I'm not going to. All right, so this might be kind of a long video, but I sort of want to show you that this is doable on its own without any issues. You know, just some thread and then just some whip stitching, and then that's it. You don't really have to do a whole lot, okay? All we're going to do is hide the knot on the inside. And this is such an easy project. You don't need major tools for this if you don't want to. What I like about it is that it's adjustable for just about anything. And of course, yes, you can embroider, you can use placemats, you can, if you love embroidering, you could probably do like some canvas or things like that. That would look really nice. Or, you know, some of us have some fabric left over from mask making, so you could always do that. But I just thought it would show you. That's very simple. I don't know if glue would really hold for this. Because it is lined, it wouldn't really hold the best, I don't think. But, you know, you try it, and if it works, let me know down below. You could obviously use like a fabric glue or something like that if you wanted to try that. If you want a very simple, easy version, that would be even quicker. I have done journal covers with the faux vinyl from Dollar Tree, which, you know, it's not the greatest, but it turned out not too bad, especially if you sew on top of it. That really helps to hold things together, which is nice. So the reason why I am closing this one all the way and not keeping an extra little opening for a pen on the left side is because that's the side that's going to fold in, so I probably wouldn't have room for a pen. I want to make sure that I have enough space on the other side. Okay, so it's just a very simple ta-da. I like that idea. I might sew these too. I'm not entirely sure. I kind of like the idea of having an extra pocket. We will see. So all we're going to do is we're just going to grab more thread. And again, you know, if this bores you, please fast forward to the next part. I'm sure it'll show where the next part of it begins, okay? You just forward through this. And then it'll make it easier for you to watch. Oops. Probably would help if I actually grabbed hold of it. There we go. Okay, so we want enough room for here for the pen to sit in, okay? So what you can do is you can just sort of slide your pen in there and then go from there. So if you wanted to use a fatter pen, like a fountain pen or something like that, you want to make sure that you have enough space. But you don't want it to be so loose that it falls out, especially if it doesn't have one of these clips, okay? So I think that's about right. We want to hide our knot, so you gotta start on the inside. Now I know where to start. I can get rid of that for now. And there we go. So I don't have my original journal cover anymore, unfortunately. I gave them away as gifts, so I can't really show that to you anymore. I do have a couple of the smaller ones, which are a lot of fun to make too. The vinyl placemats are quite a bit larger than these fabric ones, so it all depends on your size of fabric that you're using. You can recycle some denim this way, an old sweater, that'd be kind of cute, especially with the winter coming up. These would make great gifts. If you did not sew you know, particularly for a junk journal, like I said, you could do lots of slots along this side, along this pocket on the bottom here, and you can put pencils and erasers and things like that in there. And you could make it like a traveling sketchbook holder, which would be kind of pretty too. Now here, it might be a little bit more difficult, but what we're going to do is I am just going to sew a little bit, okay? Just so that it's not going to show on the other side. So all I'm doing is just going in there, hiding my knot, and I'm just going to sew a little bit so that you don't really notice it. Just a couple of stitches at the top, just so that it doesn't come undone on me, all right? You could obviously go all the way down if you wanted to, but for the sake of this video, we are going to keep it simple. Oh my goodness, and now we have a knot. Thread is the bane of my existence. And how do you fix it? Well, you either have a lot of patience or you don't. That's just the way it is. What you can do is you just cut this a little bit away and just do another little stitch. It's all right. Okay, and that way you won't see it on the other side, and it just sort of blends in, so it's just a little bit. All right, I'm going to do the same over here, just for symmetry's sake, and making sure it doesn't come unraveled on me. It's just one of those things. It just looks nice when you go to put it together. Again, you could stitch all the way down, obviously. Try not to pull too tight. There. All right. So there we have the beginnings of our little piece. We should probably take that one out too. So now we have 3 pockets. Now at this point you could leave it as is, obviously, and then you can always put like a little sketchbook in there. Let's see, do I have a sketchbook here somewhere? Yeah, alright. So let's say you wanted to travel with a sketchbook and some pencils. You could absolutely do that. Probably something a bit smaller than this, because I didn't make it for this size. But if you were to make it this size, make sure you measure before you do anything else. All right, measure twice, cut once. Isn't that what they say? All right, so here we have our hole for a pen, and we have everything else measured out nicely. We are going to, like I said before, use some eyelets, okay? We're going to do it on this side here. So this is our outer flap, and this is the side that we need to make sure we're over enough. Okay, let's see. Yep, so that's pretty good. You could do 3 holes, you could do just one if you just wanted to put one fat one in there. Cut away the excess. Fabric is not easy to punch holes into, so you just have to be patient, and because it's kind of flimsy, but you want to make sure you get it all the way through. Alright, and then flatten it out with your punch. Now if you don't have one of these, you can use your eyelet setter, the little separate pieces that they Making Memory, We Are Memory Keepers, I think, or Making Memories, they sell those. But there's a bunch of different things out there, so you can always find them online without any problem. I'm just going to cut away the excess gently. You don't want it unraveling. And I'm just going to tighten that in there. That's pretty good. Okay, just want to double check. Yeah, that's good. Alright, so now what we can do is we can put another one in there on both sides of the main one. So I know a lot of you watched, well, I know a lot of people watched my other video of the placemat cover, and yeah, some of you took it to a whole new level, which is really kind of neat, because that's kind of what all this is about, right? Is taking something like this and creating your own spin on it, which is what is so nice about it. You can customize a lot of this, you know, for whatever you need. And yes, it can be finicky. Just be patient. It's okay. It's not like paper or plastic. It all takes time with fabric. All right. One more on this side. Oops. Come on. Make sure you trim on the other side too. Just makes it a little bit easier for the grommet to sit properly. Alright, one more over here. You could use an awl if you don't have one of these. and then just use your eyelet setter. Or you could sew in your signatures. That would work too. There we go. Sorry about that. There we go. Clear the decks a little bit. Alright, so you should have 6 holes. And your grommet should be sitting in there nicely. So that looks good. Now, you could put one in the center. I'm not going to because I have some sari silk that I want to use as my closure. So I'm not going to worry about that. Alrighty. Because all you, if you're using ribbon or sari silk, you can just sew it on into the center here. And then you should be good to go. Actually, let's do that because I really do like this color. Let's start by doing sort of an extra large kind of deal. You could always use a safety pin to hold it in place if you didn't want to sew it, if you weren't too sure about it. But you can just sort of, you know, take your, and then sort of sew it along here. Again, this would be easier, yes, with a sewing machine, but, you know, we are going to do it the old-fashioned way, which is just as good. I think sometimes sewing by hand is kind of lost through generations. It's one of those life skills that just seems to crop up every now and then. It's like, oh, I wish I could fix that on myself, you know, by myself, or you know, I wish I could sew this button on or whatever. Well, I don't know. I had to teach my daughters. They don't teach it in school anymore, which is kind of sad. All right. Okay, this will be hidden by your journals that you're going to put in there. We missed this completely. Oh my goodness. All right, you know what? Let's just leave it. We can just tie it around on its own. We're not even going to bother with it. So, because that's just how lazy I am at the moment. All right, let's do some elastic. See if I remember how to do this, people. Because the last time I did this, I kind of did it inside out, and it was not pretty. All right. So I got this really pretty green, which is nice. All right. So we're going to go through the outside and through the bottom, through the middle, through the top. So we're going to squeeze this one over a bit. We're going to go back through this way. And sometimes using a pokey tool helps, and sometimes it doesn't, so it's okay. And then we're going to go through here, and then through here, and then through the center again. So just scooch this one over a bit, and then just poke it through. All right, now, because there is no spine here, it's going to be difficult to sort of keep track of things, all right? So all we're going to do is we're going to loosely, very loosely, make it snug, all right? You don't want to go too tight, and you don't want to go too loose, because if you go too loose, it's going to look sloppy. If you go too tight, everything is going to pull, and you don't want that either. So what we're going to do is we are going to adjust this as we go, okay? We're not going to trim anything until we're ready, because we can always pull it a little bit more snug. All right, So that's not too bad. All right, we'll stick with that. Now, we could do a brochure stitch or a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, or we could just staple it, because why not? Stapling works just as well, and if you don't have a long reach stapler, just get your old stapler out. All you have to do is make sure that everything is nice and snug together. Put it face down, and then we're going to put one in the center, one on this side, oh, and one on this side. It does help if you sort of stay on to the center fold. Get something to fold those down. Sorry about my chair, guys, it squeaks. It's that time of year. Everything is drying up in the house because we got the heat on now. So my floors are creaking, my furniture is creaking, my knees, my ankles, my wrists. Take your pick. Alright, so there's one. And I think these silver foil papers that we don't use very often for other things are really, really pretty for this application, because it's, you know, it looks nice when you open up your little journal, and it just adds a little bit of brightness to an otherwise, you know, very simple notebook, really. Now, you don't have to have coffee dyed paper. You could use just plain white copy paper instead of coffee dyed. If you wanted to use it for sketching, you could use watercolor paper. So you can always, you know, make this a watercolor kit to go kind of thing. That'd be really pretty, because you'd have room for your little watercolor palette, some brushes. You know, if you took your water brushes with you. There we go. Stapler is done. I'll just keep flattening this out without hurting myself. Again, if you have pre-made notebooks that you get from dollar store, you know, by all means use those. Just make sure you measure, make sure you measure to the proper size. Alright. So, all we're going to do is put these in. Alrighty. And it takes a little bit of adjusting, but it'll work. Doesn't look like much now. Don't forget, this is a very, there's no spine, right? So we're creating a spine basically with these notebooks. So you want to make sure there's substantial strength and length, otherwise it's going to be too flimsy. Alright, so there we go. And we have a pocket. Alright, one pocket, we can close it, and we can close this, and we have room for our pen. There is room. I left room. It never works when you want it to. Alright, there we go. Come on, there. So room for a pen. There's room for another notebook still, because we only use 3 of them, right? So we can go like this. We could just sew this onto here. You know what? Let's do that, because now I want to make sure it's on there. You don't have to, obviously. We can leave it off. I always find it takes so much concentration to thread my needle. Alright, so we're going to sew it on the other side. Alright, just like that. You could use a button at this point if you... Ooh, you know what? Yes, please. grab my button jar. Let's see what we've got. I have no idea what's all in here. It's quite a mess. Let's see. I wish I had a turquoise one, but I do not. Oh, how about this one? Maybe this? Yeah, I think that'll do nicely. Because then we can wrap our this whatchamacallit around it. Alright, let's feed this through the other side first, shall we? So we don't see that knot. I'm probably making this more difficult than I need it to be, but you know what, it's okay. There we go. Just going to finish it off on the other side. You could sew this on with the sewing machine first and then do the button. That works just as well. And probably be a lot stronger. But I'm just trying to show you that you don't have to use the sewing machine for this. Just some basic sewing skills, which I'm hoping most of us have. This is doable. Alright, so here we have our notebooks. We have room for one more. We have a pocket we can put something in, you know, that kind of thing. We have a pocket over here, so you could put something in there. Do I have anything? No. Okay, that's fine. We have our pen on the outside. Alright, and we can just wrap. Alright, maybe just this way. There we go. That is it, guys. Very simple, soft cover out of Placemat journal cover. Alright, again, if you did not want to use it for a journal, you obviously could use it for a sketchbook or some sketch paper or whatever. You know, you can always just put your sketchbook in these pockets and paint palette, whatever you felt like. You don't have to use grommets if you didn't want to. You could sew them in with the 3-hole pamphlet stitch. Wow, that's a mouthful, isn't it? But there's several different ways that you can do it, obviously. I thought this one was kind of pretty and cute. And, you know, it works. It keeps everything nice and handy and close by. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed this. It's a little bit on the long side, this video, but, you know, in the end, it's a pretty cool result. So like, subscribe, and share, and I hope you will see you in the next one. Bye.